This is Lainey Cameron, and I am here. It is launch week. Kristin Contino's new book, A House Full of Windsor, just came out this week. Congratulations, Kristin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit. Well, first off, where are you joining me from? Where are you these days?
So I live in the Philadelphia suburbs, so about 30 minutes outside of Philly.
Oh, cool. And A House Full of Windsor, like I said, it just released this week. So tell me a little bit more about it.
So A House Full of Windsor is about a woman named Debbie Windsor, and she is a huge fan of the royal family. And she studies abroad in England, and the book chronicles her from the 1980s, studying abroad, and through the 90s, her marriage ups and downs, which kind of parallel Princess Diana and Prince Charles, and then her moving back to the US. And it also is told from the point of view of her daughter, who is an etiquette expert, and she takes the complete opposite, path in life as her mother, who is a hoarder of royal, family souvenirs. And Sarah wants to appear perfect and, like she has all the answers, but she doesn't. And they both end up on a hoarding reality show.
I loved the reality show aspect of this. It reminded me a little bit in some ways of KJ Dell'Antonia's book, The Chicken Sisters, which is also around a reality show and also did a little bit of a hoarding theme, and also about family, which is one of the things that came through really in this book for me. Is it's got a lot of love in it. I think I'll write that in my own review. A lot of heart, a lot of love, and it's really, to me, that was a book all about family and the complexities of family, right? And what we hang on to. And you're getting some great reviews. Let me just show people a quick peek at one fabulous blurb from Amy M. Pellizzeri, one of my favorite authors. And I thought she nailed it when she said, moving seamlessly between a contemporary Philadelphia suburb and Princess Diana's 1980s England, a poignant, heartwarming tale about the things we hold on to far too long and why. This is a curl up and ignore everything kind of read. And she appreciated the nostalgia and said it was absorbing. What a beautiful blurb to get for the book.
It was so nice of her.
And I noticed like the key words that show up in some of your early reviews: charming, joyful, family drama. People love the joy in this book.
Yeah, a lot of people say nostalgic too, which I think, goes back to the 1980s scenes with Diana and them going to the royal wedding and camping out and all that stuff. So, if you were a big fan of Princess Diana back then, I think that'll be nostalgic and fun for you. And even if not, it's more, I think, a family story, because people see the cover and they're like, oh, a book about the royals, but it's kind of not really about the royal family at all, is it? It's more about this family, who the woman happens to be a royal fan.
Right. It's like about maybe a little bit about where the roots of obsessions come from. Like, why do we get so into a particular thing and it becomes so meaningful to us? And it's never about the thing itself, right? It's about something else that's kind of getting us there, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So I'm intrigued. I know you're a huge royal buff and you have a beautiful blog where you share all these amazing royal things. And I love when you do like the outfits and all kinds of stuff. But this particular book, where did the inspiration come from? Where does a royal buff kind of get the idea for a novel like this?
So I was watching an episode of Hoarders, unsurprisingly, perhaps, and this daughter on the show was talking about, how her life had been impacted by her mother's hoarding, and like everything in her life, her job, her relationships, choices she had made. So I thought that was really interesting, like to take as a novel, what would a daughter's life be like, down the road in her early 30s if she had grown up in a home where the mother was a hoarder? So I wanted to tell it from her point of view and the mother's.
So what about editing? Did anything change? And anything readers might be surprised was different in earlier versions than the final one that they read?
Yes. So I had an agent ask me to make quite a lot of changes to the book when I signed on with her. So I totally rewrote the one part. So Sarah, one of the main characters, had a fiance, and so you read the book. She's single in the version that you read and has kind of a love interest, but she had a fiance and her producer was her fiance. And the book, as it is now, the producer is like a mentor, an older, father figure type to her. And so she was engaged at the time to this younger producer, and there was a bit of a love triangle, and she wanted me to totally take that out. So like I had to change the entire producer character. She wasn't engaged, and it was quite different than it is now.
Oh, interesting. I liked the love angle interest in the book. It was nice how it played out through the whole thing.
Thank you. Yeah, so it went from, a love triangle romance type thing to just her being interested in this guy alone, which I think works better.
Yeah, I think so. It also lets you kind of progress it as a love story over the course while everything else is happening, which is nice. So, what about reading? Have you read anything good recently or anything you would recommend?
Yeah. So just last night, actually, I finished a mutual writer friend of ours, Casey Dembowski. And I know you read this book, When We're 30. Just finished it at like midnight last night. And I really loved this book. It was so cute. It's just like the perfect fun summer read, rom-com set in New York. And I know you loved that too. So I would definitely recommend that one. And let's see, I have a royal book club that I run on Facebook called Royally Good Reads. And I'm just starting today my friend Terry Wilson's book, Once Upon a Royal Summer, which is really, really fun. And it's about
Ooh.
a dark princess who falls in love with a single dad who turns out to be a real prince. So I am, yeah, really excited to start that one.
Awesome. And writing advice. This is your second book and you've come a long way and it's a fun read. Like, what do you advise to people who are maybe earlier, maybe they're still querying? We were talking about this a little bit before we started. Maybe they're still writing, like they're still working on that first one, or they put one in the drawer. Like, what advice do you give to people who are a little bit farther behind on this journey?
So I think the comparison thing is really, really hard to let go of. Like you're seeing on Facebook or whatever, all these people talking about, oh, I have, an agent or I got a film deal and whatever. And you sit there and you're like, oh, I don't have anything, I'm getting rejected. It's really hard. So I think just kind of staying in your lane is important. And like, I can take this advice myself, my second book, you sit here and you're like, oh, like this person got this huge deal. And you feel like, you just have to stay in your own lane and just stop comparing yourself to others and just cheering people on. I think that's what's great about, being in WFWA is people are really supportive of each other and cheering each other on. And it can be hard, like, especially when you're just like hoping for that break or hoping for that, yes from an agent and you're not getting it. It's hard. I think mentally, like people don't even, people do talk about it, but like not as much as, maybe you should about, people are focused on craft and everything else, but it's hard to deal with. So I think just kind of preparing yourself for that and preparing yourself for rejections and just kind of like keeping on your path is important.
It's great advice because yeah, rejection is just so much part of this journey and it's a normal part for everybody. But here's the thing is the stuff we see on Facebook and Instagram, that's the highlights reel, right? That's the royal wedding where everybody's in a pretty dress and everybody's dressed up and you don't know that behind the scenes the princess is bulimic and she's struggling to get it by.
Yeah.
So like just to go with an example, right? It all looks pretty on screen. And so just to go with your royal example here, I've been watching The Crown is maybe why that stuff's in my head right now. But yeah, like you think it all looks perfect on this, you see the good stuff, you see the highlights reel, and there are I wrote a blog post about this just a few weeks ago, there's always more no's than yeses in this business, right? Like at the one point, for example, my book is on sale and people are sharing it, but on the other hand I got turned down by BookBub. So like I'm getting one thing, but I didn't get the other. Yes. And I'm not out there shouting about the one I didn't get, right? I'm out there talking about the one that is happening because you're not going to spend all your time talking about the stuff that didn't happen, right? Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I think that's really good advice. Focus on the stuff you are getting and try and celebrate the small moments that are going right for you as opposed to comparing to someone else's highlights reel.
Totally. And like, even with this book, like people could say, oh, look, this is so great. And, you have this book coming out in your second book and blah, blah, blah. But like this book, I wrote it over 5 years ago. Like it got turned down by every single publisher. I mean, not every, but practically it was on submission. No one wanted it. I was told it's not right for the market. No one wants books about reality shows. And 5 years later, I put it away. I was like, okay, I guess this book is not happening. And last year, in 2020, had nothing else to do basically. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna look at this book again. And I started, researching some other publishers, that my former agent, hadn't reached out to. And one of them was Wyatt Mackenzie, my publisher I'm with now. And I had reached out to Amy actually, and asked her some questions about them. And I decided to pitch them. And, within a day I had an email back, which, as you know, is not normal. That's super fast in publishing world.
It's ridiculous.
So it all happened like crazy fast. But like, if you just took a look at that separate and I didn't tell you the story behind it, you'd be like, oh my God, she got, a publishing deal within, 2 days.
A day, 24-hour publishing deal.
And I mean, it wasn't quite as simple as that. We had a call and yada, yada. So it was a few weeks, but like, essentially it was almost, a day. And anybody looking at that would say, oh my God, like overnight, it's so fast and so lucky. And I'm like, no, it took over 5 years for this book to go anywhere. And I thought it was never going to be published. So like, not everybody shares those things. And I think that's important.
That's such great advice. And I love that you mentioned WFWA. If anyone was listening and going, what is that acronym? It stands for Women's Fiction Writers Association. And it's an association of about 1,500 odd people who write women's fiction and who support each other. There's a very active Facebook group. And you become a member for like $50 a year. And there's all kinds of workshops and craft things as well. But yes, so many of the writers that you and I know each other through that. But so many of the writers in the women's fiction community know each other through having been part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great. And, making so many connections. And we've been to New Mexico, the amazing retreats they have. So it's definitely a worthwhile organization.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with the book here. It's out. People can get it and read it right now. Any final things we haven't talked about that you want to bring up before I tell people how to connect with you?
I think that's probably it, but thank you so much for having me.
So you're at Royally Kristin C on Instagram, and I love how you share all the royal stuff, and then KristinContino.com. And like I said, I think you do a lovely job of like bringing us into some of the background of not royal life, but like, I don't know, like one of my favorite things I've seen you do on your blog is when you do the dress thing and you actually like match outfits and show how you can like recreate an outfit that someone in the royal family wore. Those always make me smile. Don't ever go out and buy the things, but they still make me smile.
It's a fun little way to kind of, integrate royalness into your everyday life. And I actually write for a website called Royal Central. I'm a reporter there. So I'm very ingrained in everything going on with the royals right now, but it's a perfect time, to have a book come out about the royal family, because everybody's talking about them, like you said, the crown and everything going on with Harry and Meghan and all that stuff. So it actually worked out fairly well for me timing wise. And
if anyone is a royal fan and they want to have Kristin come talk to their book club about the book, I know you'd be happy to do that and talk about all things royal and book it.
Yeah, so I'm definitely open to Zooms for book clubs and all that stuff.
Yay. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Lainey. It was so nice to see you.